and welcome to yet another interesting episode in management. The topic for today is shipping and insurance practices and procedures. In this lesson, we will look at the various procedures involved in shipping and insurance practices, which, as we all know, form an essential service for the operation of foreign trade. The lesson will cover the following topics. Number 1, role of shipping. Number 2, liners and tramps. Number 3, bill of lading and charter party. I am Amrita Ghosh Kumar and the subject expert for today is Dr. Arshia Hussain, teaching in the Center for Management Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi. So let us start by understanding the importance of international trade. International trade is the exchange of goods and services between countries. Such international trading gives rise to a world economy, in which prices or supply and demand affect and are affected by global events. Trading globally not only results in increased efficiency, but also allows countries to participate in a global economy, encouraging the opportunity of foreign direct investment or FDI. FDI is the amount of money that individuals invest into foreign companies and other assets. In theory, global trade provides consumers the opportunity to be exposed to goods and services not available in their own countries. The shipping industry can be considered the lifeline of world trade, as about 90% of world trade is carried out by the international shipping industry. To understand the importance of shipping in our lives, we only need to look at the diverse types of goods we use every day. From the mouse to the computer screen, the shirt on our back and the shoes on our feet, to the fuel that powers our vehicles and factories around the world every day. What we now call basic necessities of modern life are all brought to us by world trade. The import and export of goods on a large scale, as required by the modern world, is not possible without the shipping industry. International trade is completely dependent on overseas shipping and services. From petroleum products to garments, every business is looking out for international tie-ups for more exposure and expansion of trade. As freight and cargo shipping services are one of the affordable and dependable services for shipment of goods, international shipping business is catching up in recent times. The shipping service providers are catching up with time and are moving towards modern business practices from the traditional ones. Almost every international player has set up offices globally and is connected through powerful connectivity systems. The overseas shipping business is now a facilitator of international trade and tie-ups and is helping business and individuals to reach out to global partners and franchises. The shipping companies provide customized packages for their international individual and commercial customers. The international freight shipping companies offer services through roadways, the airway, and through seaways. There is a worldwide network of more than 50,000 merchant ships which are transporting every kind of cargo. The fleet is registered in more than 150 nations and is manned by more than 1 million seafarers of diverse nationalities. Since the figures for trade estimates are conventionally in terms of tons, it is very difficult to quantify the value or volume of global seaborne trade. However, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the UNCTAD, the estimated operations of merchant ships contributes about $380 billion in freight rates within the global economy, which is equivalent to about 5% of the total world trade. The three main types of goods transported by sea are dry bulk, oil and containerized cargo. Dry bulk accounts for about 38% of the world's seaborne trade. Oil trade forms the second largest type of cargo, accounting for 36%, and containerized cargo contributes about 15%. Shipping trade estimates are often calculated in terms of ton miles as a way of measuring the trade volume. In 2008, for example, it is estimated that the shipping industry transported over 32,000 billion ton miles of cargo. Throughout the last century, the shipping industry has seen a general trend of increase in total trade volume. Increasing industrialization and the liberalization of national economies have fueled free trade and a growing demand for consumer products. Advances in technology have also made shipping an increasingly efficient and swift method of transportation. Over the last 4 decades, total seaborne trade estimates have quadrupled from just over 8,000 billion ton miles in 1968 to over 32,000 billion ton miles in 2008. As with all industrial sectors, however, shipping can be susceptible to economic downturns. Following several years of incredible growth, much of the international shipping industry has fallen prey to the worldwide economic downturn. Shipping is inherently the servant of the economy, so the contraction in trade has translated into a dramatic and abrupt reduction in demand for shipping. However, notwithstanding the current scenario, the longer-term outlook for the industry remains very good. The world's population will expand, and the requirement of emerging economies for goods and raw materials will continue to increase, that shipping transports so safely and efficiently. In the longer term, the fact that shipping is the most fuel-efficient and carbon-friendly form of commercial transport should work in favor of an even greater proportion of world trade being carried by sea. The international shipping industry is responsible for the transportation of around 90% of world trade. Shipping is the lifeblood of the global economy. Without shipping, intercontinental trade, the bulk transport of raw materials, and the import-export of affordable food and manufactured goods would simply not be possible. Ships are technically sophisticated, high-value assets. Larger high-tech vessels can cost over $200 million to build, and the operation of merchant ships generates an estimated annual income of over $500 billion in freight rates. Shipping is the safest and possibly most environment-friendly form of commercial transport. Shipping was amongst the very first industries to adopt widely implemented international safety standards. Because of its inherently international nature, the safety of shipping is regulated by various United Nations agencies. The International Maritime Organization, or the IMO, in particular, has developed a comprehensive framework of global maritime safety regulations, which are enforced on a worldwide basis. A ship engaged in the tramp trade is one which does not have a fixed schedule or published ports of call. As opposed to freight liners, tramp ships trade on the spot market with no fixed schedule or itinerary or ports of calls. A steamship engaged in the tramp trade is sometimes called a tramp steamer. Similar terms like tramp freighter and tramper are also in use. Today, the tramp trade includes all types of vessels, from bulk carriers to tankers. Each can be used for a specific market, or ships can be combined like the oil bulk ore carriers to accommodate many different markets depending upon where the ship is located and the supply and demand of the area. Tramp ships often carry with them their own gear, booms, cranes, derricks and so on, in case the next port lacks the proper equipment for loading or discharging their cargo. A liner service is a service that operates within a schedule and has a fixed port rotation with published dates of calls at the advertised ports. A liner service generally fulfills the schedule unless in cases where a call at one of the ports has been unduly delayed due to natural or man-made causes. Liner shipping is the service of transporting goods by means of high-capacity ocean-going ships that transit on regular routes at fixed schedules. There are approximately 400 liner services in operation today, providing weekly departures from all the ports that each service calls. Liner vessels, primarily in the form of container ships and roll-on or roll-off ships, carry about 60% of the goods by value moved internationally by sea each year. A tramp service or tramper, on the other hand, is a ship that has no fixed route or itinerary or schedule and is available at short notice to carry cargo from any port to any port. We know that the carriage of goods across the countries may take place by sea, by air, by road and rail, or through multimodal transportation. The nature and content of contract of carriage of goods also depend upon the mode of transport used. By contract of carriage of goods, we mean a contract whereby a person agrees to carry goods from one place to another in return for a payment. The party who undertakes to carry the goods for payment, example the shipping company or the airways, is called the carrier, and the person who delivers the goods for carriage is known as the consignor or the shipper. Specific contracts between the carriers and the shippers are mostly based upon international conventions which are duly incorporated in the national laws. A contract for the carriage of goods by sea is known as contract of affreightment. It is a contract between the shipper, consignor and the ship owner or the shipping company by which the ship owner undertakes to carry the goods of another shipper in consideration for a price called freight. A contract of affreightment contains all the terms and conditions of carriage of goods. It may take the form of a charter party or a bill of lading, as the contractual obligations of the parties are governed by the nature of carriage. Where a tramp is chartered, the contract of affreightment between the charter and the ship owner takes the form of a charter party or CP. On the other hand, where cargo is carried by a liner, the contract of affreightment takes the form of a bill of lading or a BL, which operates as a receipt of goods, a document of title and a contract of carriage. Let us now learn about these two forms in detail. Definition: a bill of lading is a legal document between the shipper of a particular good and the carrier detailing the type, quantity and destination of the good being carried. The bill of lading also serves as a receipt of shipment when the good is delivered to the predetermined destination. This document must accompany the shipped goods no matter the form of transportation and must be signed by an authorized representative from the carrier, shipper and the receiver. It serves three main functions. 1. A document of title to the goods described in the bill of lading. 2. A receipt for the goods. 3. As an evidence of the terms and conditions agreed upon for the transportation of the goods. Descriptions of types of bill of lading. 1. Straight bill of lading reveals that the goods are consigned to a specific person and it is not negotiable free from existing equities. It means any endorsee acquires no better rights than those held by the endorser. This type of bill is also known as a non-negotiable bill of lading, and from the banker's point of view, this type of bill of lading is not safe. Second, order bill of lading. In an order bill of lading, the title to the goods is conferred to the order of shipper or to the order of a named party in the letter of credit, the issuing bank usually. The purpose of an order bill of lading is to protect the interest of the shipper or the named party to the title to the goods. The title to the goods is transferable to another party by endorsement, usually on the reverse or back of the bill of lading, by the title holder of the bill of lading. If the endorsement of bill of lading is required in the letter of credit or the LC, all the originals must be endorsed. Number 3, bearer bill of lading is a bill which states that delivery shall be made to whosoever holds the bill. Such bill may be created explicitly, or it is an order bill that fails to nominate the consignee whether in its original form or through an endorsement in blank. A bearer bill can be negotiated by physical delivery. Number 4, surrender bill of lading works under a term import documentary credit. The bank releases the documents on receipt from the negotiating bank, but the importer does not pay the bank until the maturity of the draft under the relative credit. This direct liability is called surrender bill of lading. Number 5, a clean bill of lading is one which states that the cargo has been loaded on board the ship in apparent good order and condition. Such a bill of lading will not bear a clause or notation which expressively declares a defective condition of goods and or the packaging. The opposite term is a soil bill of lading. It reflects that the goods were received by the carrier in anything but good condition. A charter party is an agreement between two parties regarding lease of a cargo or a vessel. One party offers to lease its vessel or cargo to another party at a stipulated rate or under decided conditions. It is a legal contract made under the laws governing the shipping world between a cargo vessel owner and a charterer. Clauses for different charter parties vary. It is these clauses that make different types of charter parties. Depending on these clauses, some charter parties are mentioned below. This is a typical agreement where there is no maintenance liability or any kind of claim on the vessel by the owner for the period of lease of the vessel. The owner agrees to lease the vessel without any administration, financial or technical responsibility for it. The charterer acts as the sole owner of the ship and is responsible for all the maintenance and functioning costs of the vessel, including fuel, crew maintenance, repair, custom duties, port expenses and so on for that time. It is more suitable for tankers and bulk carriers. This is the most commonly used charter party. Under this particular agreement, the owner of the ship agrees to lease the cargo to the charterer for a particular voyage. The cost paid for such a lease includes costs like fuel, loading and unloading of the cargo and so on. The vessel owner supplies the charterer with the vessel and sometimes the crew for a voyage to a designated port. However, there is a specific time limit under this kind of contract. The time mentioned in the lease contract includes the time needed for loading and unloading of the cargo, exceeding which may need the charterer to remunerate the owner in terms of compensation charges. Often confused with the previous charter party, this charter party refers to lease of a vessel by the owner to a charterer for a specified period of time. The owner only offers his vessel at a predetermined rate. The charterer agrees to bear all the expenses incurred on running of the vessel in return of availability of vessel for that time. In this particular type of charter party, the owner agrees to lease his vessel to the charterer for a specified cargo to be shipped to a specified port. This type of contract is made on the basis of the port or dock where the vessel is received by the charterer upon leasing or the owner while returning. The exchange happens in areas which are essentially suited to the size of the vessel and are called commercial area of the port. There is no specific convention for charter party. Not only that, in most of the countries, no specific legal provisions exist for concluding charter party on the basis of any minimum requirements. Consequently, contracts can be concluded on mutually acceptable terms and conditions, provided these do not violate any national law. Like any other contract, charter party may be concluded either orally or in writing. In practice, however, for minimizing conflict between the parties, charter parties are concluded in writing, and in order to facilitate the contract conclusion, the standard formats evolved over time may be used. Charter party contains all terms and conditions of carriage, which may also include rights and obligations of the parties and the provisions for settlement of disputes. Since it operates with reference to the common law, the ship owner's liability in receiving, carrying and discharging of cargo is an absolute one, unless otherwise restricted by incorporation of specific clauses. Absolute liability means that when loss takes place, the ship owner cannot take recourse to any exception other than 1. Act of God, 2. Act of enemy, and 3. Act of charterers and their representatives. However, as a matter of practice, the ship owners agree to carry cargo by limiting their liability by including exception clauses. Similarly, the admissible loss, that is the compensation to be paid by the ship owners when loss due to events within their control is limited to an agreed amount. This is done by making the charter party subject to the same international conventions which govern liner bill of lading. Though charter party as a contract contains all terms and conditions, it is also governed by certain implied undertakings. These undertakings are implied by law to be part of the contract unless specifically negated in the contract charter party itself. Ship owners under Voyage Charter undertake to provide to the charterers a seaworthy ship, and that it shall proceed with reasonable dispatch and proceed without unjustifiable deviation. Seaworthiness of a ship is to be viewed in respect of the contract, voyage or voyages and the cargo to be carried. Under the charter party contract, the ship owners are to guarantee absolute seaworthiness, and therefore they undertake that not only have they taken every precaution, but in fact it is seaworthy. In the event of a dispute, therefore they have no defense that they did not know of the existence of defects. It may be noted that the ship owner's responsibility relates to ordinary perils likely to be encountered during the voyage, and they can exempt themselves from any liability if extraordinary perils like acts of God are encountered. Seaworthiness is released to the contracted voyage and the nature of cargo carried. Thus, a ship will be considered unseaworthy if it 1. carries insufficient bunker oil for the voyage, and 2. lacks equipment of receiving and carrying cargo safely. For example, a ship with defective refrigerating machinery was held unseaworthy for a cargo of frozen meat. This implied undertaking means that the ship owners ensure the carrier to be ready to commence the voyage and load the cargo to be carried and proceed upon and complete the voyage with all reasonable dispatch. This undertaking in fact emphasizes the importance of time, as by delay the purpose of the voyage is defeated. While for loading and discharging of cargo, the time limits are usually prescribed in the charter party, but the dispute may rise regarding reasonable dispatch related to commencing and completing the voyage. Unless specifically mentioned in the charter party, the time taken should be reasonable. The reasonableness of time in turn is related to trade in which the parties are engaged, and therefore it differs from the trade to trade. If the route is not prescribed in the charter party, the ship owners are to follow the customary route which is usually followed. Any departure from such a route is considered a deviation, and this may mean a breach of contract. This undertaking is to prevent the ship owners from voluntarily substituting the voyage for the contracted voyage. Under the common law, deviation is accepted to save human lives and not to save property. Saving human life is paramount, and therefore a deviation for assisting any voyage in distress is justified provided it is necessary to save human life. In one case, when a chartered vessel was on her voyage, she sighted and went to the assistance of a vessel in distress. The master agreed to tow her into the nearest port. It was out of the direct course. While doing so, the chartered vessel stranded, and ultimately her cargo was a total loss. The jury found that towing was in distress. Though it was necessary to save the ship and the cargo, it was not necessary to save the human life. The ship owners of the chartered vessel were accordingly held liable. In case of voyage charter, there is an implied undertaking by the charterer not to load the ship with dangerous cargo or cargo which is likely to cause damage to the ship. The charterers are to ensure that the voyage is legal. The charterers also undertake that the ports of loading and discharge are safe ports, and the ship will not be exposed to undue dangers. In case of time charter also, the charterers undertake that no dangerous goods will be shipped and that the ship will be used only between good and safe ports. So that is all for today. Hope you have understood the various topics discussed today with reference to the role of shipping in world trade, liner and tramp services, and the importance of various types of bill of lading and charter party. We'll see you again very soon with another topic on procedures involved in shipping and insurance practices. Till then, take care and goodbye.